essential Torah, and that's chus should beistein for all of us. It's not only mitzanol gehenim, Ejel gehenim, she gives the schar, and the chiyas achayim. It's my chus to go up to Sheshiva Shlita, Rav Zolty.
He's talking Gemara, Megillah. Yes. Yeah, Megillah. I'm sorry for that, yeah. Okay. Rishus the Chashimah Asra and Rishus Kol HaKodesh Hazeh. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to say a few divrei Torah. Schus from Talmud Torah, the Rabbin is ein l'shaya. Should be a schus for all of us that we should be zeicha l'bayis gufa, arichas yomim, and we should all be zeicha b'karv to see the Eibishter's Yeshua. Decided to say something on today's daf. I went off the daf Yomi. The Sugyos on daf Chav Zayin is handling a shaila about selling a Sefer Torah Yoshin Likar by Chodesh. Or a Sefer Torah, Shtokin Malin B'Kodesh from a Sefer Torah, Kedusha Sefer Torah, the highest level of Kedusha Shayach. And where it's done, since there's no Ilui Shayach by Sefer Torah, is it okay to sell a Sefer Torah Yoshin for the sake of using the money for Sefer Torah Chodesh? That's what the Gemara is done as Shaila. Or goes to Edel Charayis. Basically lives with a Shaila, even if it's no Shash of Shiur, the Gemara says. Even if it's prepared, the new Sefer Torah is ready. The Gemara says it's sitting in the base HaSefer, so there's no Shash of Shiur, that maybe you'll sell it, you won't use the money timely. The Gemara says, Afal Pikein, is you're not Shaila in the Gemara, whether it's permitted to sell the Sefer Torah Yoshan, Adaita, to buy the Chodesh, whether it's a Sefer Torah Shal Yochid, a Sefer Torah Shal Ram, it's a very good question. But the Rambam, it's a Shita and Shulchan Aruch, I'm going to mention the Rambam, that it could be the Sugya, applies even to Sefer Torah Shal Yochid. A person has a private Sefer Torah in his house that he bought, or they had a Sefer, write the Sefer Torah to Mekayim the Mitzvah Ksiva Sefer Torah. Could be we're talking about that also, even though a Yochid sometimes has a different din, he has halacha like Shivetu Ve'ir B'Maimed Ansheir, since he's a Yochid. Afal Pikein the Shitas HaRambam and the Shulchan Aruch LaHalacha, that this sugi is even by a Sefer Torah belonging to a private person, Sefer Torah Shal Yochid. Otherwise, maybe it's a Sefer Torah that's used by a tzibah and a shul. So the Gemara, Freg the Shaila, the Gemara brings down two memories. One memory is Zokt Azay American Sefer Torah, Ela Lilmay Torah V'Lisi Isha. That one should not sell a Sefer Torah besides for those two reasons, Lilmay Torah V'Lisi Isha. So the Gemara thought it's a good raya that you could transfer Torah for Torah. Torah for Torah, Luma Torah. So Gemara thought it is a raya to the Shaila, and it was matcha, right? It says no. Shiny limud, shemevili de maisa. There's a difference between selling the Torah and using the money to be able to learn Torah. That's shtaka. Shalimud mevili de maisa means he needs the money pasha to learn Torah, because if he doesn't sell the Sefer Torah, he won't be able to. That's how Rashi learned Balzena. That's the only pshat. But he can't support himself. He needs to sell the Sefer Torah to support himself in order to be able to learn Torah. So it's not a raya to the Shaila, because it's limud, ailisi isha, is also something special. So right away a person thinking about this Gemara, lisi isha, the Gemara brings a pasuk in Divrei Kabbalah, pasuk in Yeshaya, leitayil brola sheves yitzara. The Gemara doesn't even bring the pasuk in the Torah of approval, so right away comes to mind the Shaila. Very good, the Shailas, halacha dik Shailas, we'll soon see. What does the Gemara mean? Why does it bring that pasuk? Is it just to bring out because it's a choshev mitzvah? Taisva says in a few places in Shas Sometimes the Mishnah in Gittin brings down the pasuk like Tayo brought to bring out how choshev the mitzvah Piyav Rivya is. Maybe that's the reason, maybe that's not the reason. It's a question. But the Gemara says there's something about these two mitzvahs. The mitzvah, there's mitzvah of Luma. Yeah, mitzvah Luma Torah L'Isha. This is a memra. But Torah b'Torah loy. Maybe you can't just exchange a Sefer Torah and use the money for another Sefer Torah. More brings down one more memra. Another memory is Azayla, Yim Kodem Sefer Torah, Afal Pishin Nitzorach, they don't sell a Sefer Torah. Even if you don't need a Sefer Torah, you have other Sefer Torah, under Sefer Torah. And Nitzorach, you shouldn't sell a Sefer Torah. And the more brings down that Hamaycha Sefer Torah, try what the Girs is. Hamaycha Sefer Torah, Oibitoi, someone who sells a Sefer Torah, and the more says even doesn't have what to eat. Reb Shmuel's memory is, that sounds pretty serious. The person doesn't have. I'll explain what that means. Even you don't have what to eat, don't sell a Sefer Torah. Sounds common. And the more ends up, Hamecha Sefer Torah, Oibita, you sell your daughter, means the father sells his daughter as an Amivriya, is the, you'll never see a Siman Bracha from the money that you made. Ein Roya Siman Bracha. Now they want to hear from Rebbe Yashu that in a Roya Siman Bracha, I don't think it doesn't mean that if you take the money and you buy yourself a container of milk that'll get spoiled. I don't think that's what it means. In a Roya Siman Bracha meant that's in Yedzayin Ken Havocha, that if you invest that money that Chazal said in a Roya Siman Bracha means is not kedai to use that money to invest in the business. So it won't have hatzlocha in your business. That makes sense. But Al Kulpanim, that's what those are the two memories that we have in the Gemara. First, Yim Kodem Sefer Torah, Yom Torah L'Isha, two things that you could sell Sefer Torah for. And then the Gemara says that even if you don't have what to eat, don't sell Sefer Torah in a Roya Siman Bracha Loyla. That's the Divrei HaGemara. I wanted to bring down the Divrei HaRambam on the Gemara, and I wanted to bring down a few things. Gute Lamdische Shailas, was Negeat Eben Eza, and Negeat a little bit near there. So the first thing I want to mention is the Divrei HaRambam, which is the right Rambam? Sorry? Yeah. The Rambam in Hilchas Sefer Torah, Perek Yud Halacha Beis. The Rambam read Azelucha Klor Diburim, you know. It's not Poshit. The Rambam says the following. Rambam's Lashon is that Sefer Torah kosher. If it's a kosher Sefer Torah, it means the issue of selling a Sefer Torah, you might kosher a Sefer Torah. Agav, in Taz state that if you bought a Sefer Torah to sell it, that the halacha doesn't apply maybe. Just mentioning the Agav halacha, Mr. Brewer brings down such a Taz. Sefer Torah kosher noyigim by Kedushi Yisera. When noyig in the Sefer Torah Kedushi Yisera, the kovid godel, v'osel adam limka Sefer Torah, afilu ein lo mayecha. The person is also to sell a Sefer Torah. They were saying the Roya Siman Bracha, and they ask it on the Ram. The Ramach is on the Ram. The Lashon HaGemara is in the Roya Siman Bracha, but the Ram says also, it's also to sell a Sefer Torah. Afilu ein lo mayecha. Now the Ram's going to wonder what does it mean if you don't have what to eat. You can't sell a Sefer. What kind of thing is that? So the nice kelim on the Ram. Main toch nicht pikuach nefesh. I shouldn't think that there's a halacha you can't sell a Sefer Torah to use the money for pikuach nefesh. The Kesef Mishnah in Pavanzi. It's interesting. He says, don't get nervous. There I'm saying something that sounds extreme. It's Lashon HaGemara anyways. But he says, Avada, im yu pikuach nefesh mamish. If it's pikuach nefesh mamish, ki goin sha'or zay bulmis. Whatever that is, bulmis by stories, he has to eat for, it's life-threatening. It's life-threatening and he needs to eat. So the Kesef Mishnah Avada, you can sell a Sefer Torah, you need food to save your life. So what does it mean? That the person is mitzumtzim biyosa. It sounds a little bit extreme. He really is very tight on the amount of food that he's able to have in his house. That's what it sounds like. He's tight on his budget, on his food. Okay, not such an American type of problem, but anyways, that's what he says. The Rambam means Ein Lei Ma Yochel, means that he's very mitzumtzum on his food. Aval Pikain, since it's not a geder pikuach nefesh, he has his breakfast, can eat, will manage. Perfect. Is it din as you can so that's but the Rambam passes that it's an issa. Someone more that the Gemara didn't really say it is the Gemara said it. But the Kesemish says that's how the Rambam learned the Gemara, that it's an issa. It's an issa for a person to sell a Sefer Torah, even for the sake of mizainis, where his mizainis are very limited. It's also to sell a Sefer Torah. The Rambam is not mechalik between the Sefer Torah shel yochid or shel rab. He does not make any distinction. Even if it's a private Sefer Torah that you purchased or you had a Sefer right for you, you can't sell a Sefer Torah. Afilu hoyloi svarim have, even if you have many svarim. Afilu yashin likabei chodesh, which is the Gemara. The Gemara really had a suffix. If you could sell a Sefer Torah yashin likabei chodesh, and the Rambam paskin luchumra. As they learned the Kesef Mishnah, it was a suffix in the Gemara. Rambam paskin al kedusha Sefer Torah. The Rambam paskin luchumra that it's asa. Even though in the Gemara is a baidloi ifshita. The Gemara was not paishet the shaila. But the Rambam paskin luchumra als choyme from kedusha Sefer Torah. Zolty loyla mei meichen Sefer Torah el l'shnei dvorim. You can only sell a Sefer Torah for two reasons of the Helge Rambam. Sheyul Torah b'domav. Nobody, you should use the money to learn Torah, which is like Rashi's pshat in the Gemara. He doesn't have money to support himself. So if he doesn't sell the Sefer Torah, he'll have to go work, he won't be able to learn Torah. So you got to sell a Sefer Torah for the sake of Limud Torah. The only matter, I won't say what it says in other places as well. Isha b'domav. Here's the interesting thing. The Rambam says another heta to sell a Sefer Torah, I'm quoting the Lashon Rambam, Sheyisa Isha b'domav, that he should marry a woman. Now I look at this Rambam, and it says something to me. I had a Gemara that said something about Leitoyu B'ro L'Sheves Yitzar. It said something about children. It's an important thing to have children in the world, Leitoyu B'ro. But I look at this Rambam, and I don't see that the Rambam is madgish that point at all. I see the Rambam's lashon is Isha b'damav, marry a woman. Does he have children? He will have children. She can have children. I don't know. In the Rambam's lashon, it sounds like just for the sake of marriage. Maybe. And maybe there's the sake of marrying a woman that he prefers to marry, and maybe a woman that he prefers could be more expensive. It could be. But that could be a possibility. What the Rambam says, he's allowed to marry a woman with the money that he gets from his Sefer Torah. As long as, says the Rambam, you don't have something, if you have a piece of furniture to sell, so sell the furniture. But if you have something else, of course, to sell. This is the words of the Rambam. So what do I take out of the Rambam? First of all, the Rambam says the din is also to sell Sefer Torah, and he does not differentiate the Sefer Torah shel yochid. Another thing I see in the Rambam is he passes also to sell even if a person has very limited mezainis. And I see the Rambam that it's mutter to sell Lisa Isha. Now, right now I'm not so sure how to reconcile. The Gemara said Leitoyu B'ro L'Sheves Yitzar. The Gemara did use that lashon of Leitoyu B'ro, but I don't see in the Rambam so much that lashon of having children for the sake of marrying a woman that's a basbanim. I'll say everything straight, and Eben Ezer and so on. This is what the Rambam said. What's with selling a Sefer Torah for Pidyon Shvuyim? It's interesting. Taisus is Ma'or, the Shaila. Taisus in Bagabasu Daf Ches is Ma'or, can you sell a Sefer Torah for Pidyon Shvuyim? That Siva needs money for Pidyon Shvuyim. So the Pashtus is that even though Taisus has a lashon of Efsha, Taisus lashon Efsha, but it said Pidyon Shvuyim came up a Sefer Torah. It's called Mitzvah Rabbah. If I learn Masech de Babasha, Pidyon Shvuyim is called Mitzvah Rabbah because of all the different things that they could do to the person. So Taisus says it's Eichet. I think more didn't say it. Why didn't more mention that as one of the things? So Taisus says Efsha B'Alsus Pshita. If you look in Reish Nun Beis and Yeridea, you'll see that it's interesting. That's the siman that talks about Pidyon Shvuyim. speaks about selling things for the sake of selling a shul. That's a whole continuous sellish. I'm not going to go into that right now, but in Simmeration and Beis and Yeridea, the Shach and the Taz, by them it's a double pashut that you could sell a Sefer Torah for the sake of Pinyashur. They argue on a Drisha. They argue on him, and they say for double pashut, you could sell a Sefer Torah for the sake of Pinyashur. So that's a third thing. A third thing besides the two that the Gemara mentions of Lumad Torah, for the sake of Limud HaTorah, and Lisa Isha, is for the purpose of opinion shur. Very good. So we're good. This is the on Limud HaTorah. I'm just going to mention one ha'ar, which I'm not sure how to touch up the suffix of the Pri Megadim. I'm going to say this, then I'm going to go to Lisa Isha, and then I'm going to say over Trumas Hadeshin. This was some Seifa. That will look maybe a little bit of better Havana in the Inyan. And I came across, I was looking, if you look in Arach Chaim, and bring the Mishra, didn't bring it, okay. If you look in Arach Chaim, the Mishra is in Kufnun Gimel, but in Simen Kufnun Gimel, Sif Yud is where it says the din of a Sefer Torah Shal Yachid. The first day in Shulchan Aruch is that a Sefer Torah Shal Yachid is more kuladik. If it's my Sefer Torah, it's more kuladik. So that's a day maybe to be Saimachan. You know what I'm saying? The first day in Simen Kufnun Gimel, Sif Yud, is that Sefer Torah Shel Yochid, if you own one privately and you didn't give it over to Shul to use B'tzibur, it's more kuladik, and you could sell that and use the money for anything. But that's only the first day. The second day is the Rambam, like we mentioned, that says, no, you can't sell a Sefer Torah Shel Yochid either. As, again, I said it's Kufnun Gimel. Sif Yud in the Mechab, it's clearly 2 days, V'yesh misha oiser. Even if it's privately owned, the Sefer Torah, it's my Sefer Torah. Remember, I said if you buy it to sell, it's better. I mentioned that. Taz says that. So it's interesting. Maybe the Rambam has a shtickle pshat in it. I see the Mishnah Berurah find odd on this din that yesh misha oiser. Zokta, what's the din? Can I sell a Sefer Torah to buy myself a shas? So a person, usually to learn you need svarim. A great seed, maybe I don't need. But if I want to learn a Gemara, I need a Gemara. So is that also go into Lil My Torah to sell a Sefer Torah? The Sefer Torah. I have a Sefer Torah. If I don't have a shas, I need a Gemara. I need an art scroll, whichever Gemara it is. There's no mitzvah to buy a Sefer Torah. Yeah. Oh, so the mind says, I'm not going, but ich sagen, was sie sagt. Ich habe gehört, was right now I'm just saying over the Mishnah Berurah on this sif quotes a Pri Megadim that says Sorachin. He's not Poshet the Shaila. I didn't know exactly how to work with the Shaila. Can you sell Sefer Torah, Lumad Torah? So this is Lumad Torah, or maybe it's not Lumad Torah because you could learn without the Gemara, you could learn something else. I'm not so sure what the suffix is. Here at Shaila, selling Svarim, I didn't go into that yet, but rather in the Mechaber says you're not supposed to sell Svarim either. You're supposed to treat Svarim the same way as the Sefer Torah. I did not mention that yet, but Rav Sinman brought it up. Svarim, you may be Mekayim the mitzvah Ksiva Sefer Torah, not it's a machlokes lahalacha. If you Mekayim Ksiva Sefer Torah with Svarim, the Shach says it's a machlokes. Definitely, there is a day that maybe, but it does say in the Mechaber and Shulchan Aruch, it says don't sell Svarim either. I don't know if people realize this. Rav Moshe has a tshuva about it. But I mentioned was an iniza not to sell even Svarim because the Mechaber says so. If you look in Yeridea, in Ayin Reish, the Mechaber says don't sell Svarim either. We're supposed to treat Svarim in a similar manner that we treat a Sefer Torah. Those Svarim is unser Sefer Torah. It's a Svarim. But I don't want to go into that. That's maybe there is a heter, Moshe is a bissel mer mekel, and then you have the heter, it's from Shal Yochid. There may be heter, but in Shulchan Aruch says to be careful. And there's plenty of Yidden that say it's not so simple to sell a sefer that you have of yours, even though I have a lot of Svarim in my house, I don't use all of them. Maybe I'll change it for a different sefer. Yeah, maybe it's just not so simple. Anyway, I don't know if the Olam has a teretz for me. What's the suffix from the Pri Megadim is? Lil my Torah. It sounds like he's saying, no, I can't learn because I don't have money. I can't support myself. This is Lil my Torah. But if I need a sefer, I need a Gemara, I need a Paiskim, a Farshim, and the Pri Megadim is Mesupik. If that's called Lil my Torah, I'm not sure how to touch up this suffix. The Mishnah brings that suffix in the Pri Megadim. This is Lagabe Lil my Torah. When it comes to Lisa Isha, so I wanted a little bit. I hope that I don't have a simchas hater. I got a bisschen mefalpul sein in dem Nieden von selling a sefer Torah, the second heter of Lisa Isha, which was medayik a little bit in the Rambam. The Rambam's lashon is as chasnab. He doesn't mention anything about. He doesn't say anything about period of Rivia. Rambam doesn't say a word about it. So we got a bisschen mefalpul sein and talk about that, and I have, and then maybe just end off also with a Shuvas Sam Sefer, very nice Shuvas Sam Sefer. I'm sorry?
Maybe that's what Shabbos is. Husbands and wives, families living together, doesn't have to necessarily children.
That's made this Shul. Even though the Mishnah brings down that pasuk when being able to have children. Maybe not over here. But Shabbos Yitzhar means what? Family life. It does. That's what you're saying. Maybe. Not sure. Maybe. I'm going to quote a few things. I think the Olam will have a few things from Even Ezer. The
island is for sure there would be no heter.
No heter island. Why not?
Because I'm saying that the Mechaber brings down the cases if there's no chiyuv anymore proof. If you already have children, there's no heter.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Yeshala, but I'm going to talk exactly about Yeshala with Simon Aleph and Even Ezer. Simon Aleph and Even Ezer. We're going to talk about Yeshala and bring down a nice Chumas Hadesh and an interesting thing. What's again, we're handling this point of Lisa Isha, what's meant by the word of Lisa Isha that the Gemara uses. The Simon Aleph and Even Ezer. Listen carefully. Simon Aleph and Even Ezer, and then I'll bring down the Chum. No, what's called Even Ezer, right? I'll say Lisa Isha. So in the first Simon Even Ezer, Ein Moichin Sefer Torah. Elikidei Lumay Torah V'Lisa Isha. Azay Mechava in Sif Beis in Even Ezer Simon Aleph. Zok the Chalkes Mechoykik brings down that in Arachaim Zok the Shtei Yelatis Sela Sefer Torah La Spokes Talmidim, which means to be able to support Talmidim to learn Torah. Very good. Aspokes Talmidim is Lumay Torah. If you need to support them, you have to give them food. They should be able to learn. That's okay. You could also sell a Sefer Torah in order to use the money to marry off Yisayim Bidamav. Bimidivri Harivash. Because that goes into the klal of Lumat. No Chedushim yet, right? Haspok is Talmidim, to support Talmidim to learn. And also for the sake of Lahasi Yisayim. Zogt the Chalkes Mechoykek. Lahasi Yisayim. Zogt Fizeh. Davki Yosem Sheroitz Lekayim Pia Verivia Vein Sipik Biyodai. So would only be allowed to sell a Sefer Torah. Sounds a little bit sound interesting to us. No Tzachastamach and Ayosem. Ayosem is doch Mechuyim Pia Verivia. So to marry him off, and he doesn't have money, and the only way that Tzibah could give him money to get married is if they sell the Sefer Torah. Sell the Sefer Torah will give him money, he can be able to get married. That's okay to do it for the sake of a Yosem who's chayv in Pia Verivya. Or how about to marry off a Yisayma? And I doesn't seem to be so zufrieden with this, right? Aber b'shvil Yisayma, a Yisayma ein moichem. Azay paskin the Chalkes Mechoykek. Azay paskin v'shapra didn't be elay mat liyochel mitzvahs pinishun. We want to know the rest of the halachos of Sefer Torah. Take a look in other places in Yeridei Simreish Ayin. H.P. Beis, Arachaim, like we quoted from Arachaim, Kufnan Gimel. But the Chalkes Mechoykek paskins lahalacha this way, that you cannot sell a Sefer Torah. I don't know. He learns that the Gemara means Pia Verivya. It's for the sake of the mitzvah Pia Verivya. And you cannot use the money of a Sefer Torah being sold for the sake of a Yisayim. Azoi paskin the Chalkes Mechoykek. Just reading the words. Sagt dem, not so zufrieden, weil Rebbe sagen, was the Beis Shmuel says. The Beis Shmuel is, says that he quotes the Chalkas Mechaykik, the Dafka for Pi of Riv, even though the Gemara didn't use the Lashon, the Gemara said, Lo Teil Bra. Sagt the Beis Shmuel, it's not so simple what the Chalkas Mechaykik says, because maybe a woman is mechuyev in Shevis Yitzara. That's a good question. I know they're going to Richos of that. I'm not learning the Sugya, but there's Tosfos in Shas different places. Chagiga Daf Beis, maybe Gittin Mem Aleph is an Isha mitzuvah in Shevis Yitzara, or not?
But because it's a mitzvah essay, I mean,
it's a mitzvah essay midivri Kabbalah. Yeah, midivri Kabbalah.
What's the difference if it's an Isha?
Yeah.
Where does the Isha come in here?
Yeah.
She owns the Sefer Torah.
No, you need, if you want to marry for your Saima.
Oh, you say.
Your Saima, yeah. Yeah, I meant a gate of Tzvika, I meant the Chalkas Mechaykik.
Was eigenlijk die same as if it leven met haar man and have it became zijn pool.
Yeah, but he's not ready to marry unless she has a few bucks.
Yeah, so he's going to be Makai pure.
Yeah, but the Rav fragt der Kasha sam mit der Chalkas Mechaykik.
Was the
Mechaykik? Wie ist Saima, weil die Geld geht doch zu ihr Chasna machen. Wird Chasna mit der Zweite. Set a rights period for M. Of the Geld, I hear, I'm trying to answer. The money is only needed because of her. Wird sich ein Eitze geben mit der Zweite, was hat Geld. Aber mit ihr wird sich nicht kein Eitze geben. It's her. It's for her. So very good. Ich habe gehört, was der Rav fragt. Das ist doch weiter. Aber he'll find himself somebody else. But she won't. So, in Bekitzer, right now, ich halte in der Beis Shmuel, was sagt das, I think there's enough grounds to say that maybe a woman's mitzvah on Shabbos, and maybe that's a good enough reason to sell a Sefer Torah on behalf of a woman, a Yisayma who needs a woman that needs money, a woman that needs money in order to get married. Sagt yeah, azay menech mikenev shesaymer zaym, but he still saw another din. Listen carefully to this din, and the Trumas Hadeshin and the Machlokes. This is already a lamdish Machlokes. Now from Siyata Dishmaya for this one. But what do I mean to say? Azog, that there's a din a little bit later in Siman Aleph and Even Ezer. It goes like this: Alo Pishakiyim Piyav Herivya. Also, even if he was Mekayim Mitzvahs Pivya, also Lamed B'lei Isha V'tzor She'is Isha Bazbonim. Even though he was Mekayim the basic Mitzvah Piyav Rivya, whatever the shears for that, but he still can't be without a woman, and he has to marry a woman that could have children. Why? Why? Because there's a Mitzvah Midiri Kabbalah of B'boikez Erev Al Tanach Yadecha that he should have more children. So he should marry an Isha Bazbonim if he's able to. Let's say he doesn't have money to marry a woman that's of age to have children. He doesn't have enough money for her. At that age woman, you need more money to get them. So what's the din? Can you sell a Sefer Torah? Again, he wants to sell a Sefer Torah because he needs money to marry a woman who's a Bas Bonim. Bas Bonim, no, it's more expensive. So he has to sell it. Can he sell a Sefer Torah? Shevet Yitzhar. Shevet Yitzhar is what? Starker. Why? This is the Divrei Kabbalah. Rabbanan.
Prove who he had, but Shevet Yitzhar is ongoing.
Yeah. So this is, but this is not l'shevis. This is a different pasuk. This is no good. You mean? There's also something. So you should know. Mechaber brings down 2 days. Listen carefully. Mechaber says 2 days. He needs money to marry a lady that's of age to have children. He had period already, but he wants to make the mitzvah d'Rabbanan, I'll call upon him, the mitzvah d'Rabbanan of the Erev Al Tanach Yadecha. But he wants to sell a Sefer Torah to get money to marry her. He can marry maybe someone else who can't have children, but this woman to marry has to sell a Sefer Torah in order to have the kiyum of the Erev Al Tanach Yadecha. So it's a machlekes. In Shulchan Aruch, there's 2 days about this. Excuse me?
If he can't have children, then the whole thing goes off.
Yeah, that's not the case here, right? No, that's not what we're talking about now. We'll come to that case maybe. We'll come to that case shortly. But anyways, in the Shulchan Aruch it speaks about this, about selling a Sefer Torah in order that he be able to marry a woman who's a Bas Bonim, so that he could be mekayim this mitzvah d'Rabbanan. It's pashas a mitzvah d'Rabbanan from l'erev al Tanach Yedecha. Is in Shulchan Aruch say the first day is maybe not. Maybe not. V'yeshaim zhafilu yesh leibonim yimka sefer Torah leish yizi shabas bonim. So Mechaber himself brings down 2 days. Maybe you could sell a sefer Torah, even for the sake of being mekayim this mitzvah d'Rabbanan of l'erev al Tanach Yedecha. Maybe you could. That's what the Beis Shmuel meant to say. If you could do it for that, you could do it for Yisayma, mekayim Sheves, if you hold the Sheves. That's what he tells Su. So very good. So now I know there's a Beis Shmuel that's maybe matter to be Masi Yisayma with money from a Sefer Torah. And now I know there's something about selling a Sefer Torah for the sake of being mekayim a mitzvah d'Rabbanan or l'erev al Tanach Yedecha, and even to sell a Sefer Torah for that reason. Azay is the Adei and Shulchan Aruch. Very good. Now here's my problem. I should remember the Rambam that we started off with. So here, we have a little shaila now. You know, in Shulchan Aruch it says that a man should not stay without a woman. If it's possible. Yeah, a person shouldn't be without a woman. I want to quote you a Trumas Hadesh, and I brought the Trumas Hadesh with me. I wasn't sure if I'd have one over here. The Rabbi said he doesn't have one, Trumas Hadesh. But I brought a Trumas Hadesh. And then from the Trumas Hadesh comes out a machlekes, the Havana from Beis Shmuel with the Chalkas Mechaykik. What I mean to say, the Trumas Hadesh in Reish Sameh Gimel was confronted with the following question. Someone said to him, I got an alman, he was Mekayim Pirivya, and he became an alman. And he wants to marry a woman, but the person says to the Rav like this, listen, you know what? I could marry a woman, but she has to be problem-free. Don't know what I'm talking about. Problem-free. It has to be a woman, because he has his children from his first wife. And, you know, I can't, it has to be a woman, but she'll make me have problems with the children, she won't get along with them. So he came to ask the Trumas Hadesh. That's what he said. He says, I have to marry somebody that is, so to say, ketata free. The words he used, ketata free. So, and he wants to marry such a woman, even if she's not a bas bonim. And if I can't even find such a person, then I'm not going to get married. Here's what's going on here. This is the Shan Trumas Hadesh. So it's really a 2-step shaila. First he says, you know, I need a ketata-free situation, and probably a woman that can't have children is going to be...
It's on the resume.
It's on the resume? That she's ketata-free. Could be. It could be. The resumes say a lot of things. You can't believe everything. You have to make the phone calls. But the phone calls to the ones that are not on the resume. The ma'aseh is that the person said it has to be ketata-free. Let her be not a bas bonim. And if not, if it can't have ketata-free, I'm not getting married. No, he's okay. Fair. It's a fair request. And I fragt the Trumas Hadesh. And listen carefully. Trumas Hadesh and Paskin. He said, you know, it's a mitzvah taka, v'boike, v'erav Tanach Yedecha. It's a mitzvah taka, mitzvah d'Rabbanan. But on that he says a person doesn't have to get himself into ketata. He doesn't have to get into ketata and have a life of ketata in order to be mekayim a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, v'erav Tanach Yedecha. The Trumas Hadesh says, I'm okay with that. That he should marry a woman that's not a bas bonim, and not have ketata. Yeah, for the sake of resolving his ketata problems, it's okay. When the Trumas Hadesh passes, okay, brings a raya from the one Yevomis. It says by Yibum that you tell a person who's young and the Yevom is older, you tell him, don't be miyabim because you'll bring trouble. You see, matcha mitzvah Yibum, because the ketata, you matcha mitzvah derais of Yibum. That's what the Trumas Hadesh says about the person. I'm not going to marry a woman that's a bas bonim because I can't bring ketata into my house with my children. Very good. But Zolty, the Dr. Trumas Hadesh, but how about the second thing the person said? That if I can't find a woman that's going to be very comfortable with my situation and ketata free, I'm not getting married. because I'm worried about Ketata. So it's interesting. The Chumas Hadeshin says also. Listen, what am I going to say? Well, I'll say I'll be mazz why I'm bringing down the Chumas Hadeshin. But this is what he says. Litfit Tzad Hasheni. The Chumas Hadeshin says that Tzad Hasheni, the person says, I'm not getting married. I'm not looking for problems. If it's problems, I'm staying myself. I'll manage. I'll go to kosher bagel. I'll manage somehow. You versteht? Sagt der Chumas Hadeshin sagt nein. Lefi tzad hasheni dem lo yimtzi isha sheina bas meriva yim dem ilisi isha klal b'holoi kamen. Sagt the Chumas said, I can listen. You know, that's already a different level. I can't say that's the right thing to do. And he brings down a few reasons. Then he says, Kol Hashav L'Isha, Shav Le'bracha, against the Sugin Yavamis. Dem is Suik L'Mech Hashem Tizgabe Yitzrach. Not somebody says Hashem Tizgabe Yitzrach. Obo Dechet. So, you know, after this whole list of things, the Chumas Hadeshin says, I can't say that's okay. But what do you mean, Ketata? I know, but Rabbi, you're going to have to manage. Because there's too much involved over here for you just not to get married at all. I can't be, as they pass in the Chumas Hadeshin. Chumas Hadeshin brought down the halacha. The Chalkes Mechaik brings him down. I didn't come here to paskin the Morad Asher paskins over here. I came to be mefalpon. Mefalpon on a beautiful, on a suya, a geshmak suya, which I wouldn't understand better. But that's what he says. So what would you take out of this Chumas Hadeshin? That he sounds like, you know, when it comes to not marrying, that's like worse. You know, marrying a woman and not being mikayim le'erev al tanach yedech. I can understand, you have a good reason, but not to get married. So that's what he says. So I want to ask a shayla today, a simple shayla. Can a person sell a sefer Torah in order to get married? Just to get married? She's not a bas bonim, but he needs money to get married. He can't find anybody. He'll be himself. Can you sell a sefer Torah just for the sake of marriage? Good Charlotte, what's the reason? Why am I selling this Sefer Torah? Because of the din of not to be without a woman. And for that reason. So Nishkin Shebes Yitzhara, Ziyot Nishkin Kin Eket, whatever the situation is, just for the sake of not being. So the Ma'aseh, so it's a very good, that's my Rambam. Yeah, but the only thing is, the Chumas Hadeshin is so the Chumas Hadeshin said that not being with a woman as Zokt das is mehr chama, and he gives 4 reasons. Some of them he starts off with this reason, with Shoy B'lei Isha, Shoy B'lei Tevei, Tevei Yasem, brings Psukim, then he brings Hira Avera. So the Chalkes Mechaikik said that based upon this Chumas Hadeshin, I hold you could sell a Sefer Torah just for the sake of marriage. So you pass in the Chalkes Mechaikik, because Chumas then says it's even more chama than Le'erev al Tanach Yedecha. It's more chama than that. Because he didn't give a heter for the person of Ketata. Okay, so don't get married. Stay. He didn't say that. So it's more chum. So the Chalkes Mechaikik said, Al Pida Chumas Hadeshin, I would paskin that you could zicha sell a Sefer Torah for the sake of not being alone. That's what he said. If you could sell it for the sake of Erev al Tanach Yedecha, this is more chum. This is what the Chalkes Mechaikik paskins based upon the Chumas Hadeshin.
Could you sell a Sefer Torah not to be over in Israel?
Oh, the Rav Frekt a gute Shaila.
So maybe yes. Is only maybe. Oh,
maybe.
It's a
portion. The more daftin zon feel. So, was the Rav sagt is the hardest for das Anissa. As we stay in Shulchan, also lamed by Isha. So the Chalkes Mechaikik says exactly that I hold based upon the Chumas Hadeshin. Ich halt damit kein verkaufen a Sefer Torah just for the sake of marriage. Why? Because it's he calls it because of Hira Aver. If you look in the Chalkes Mechaikik, he'll say because of Chet and this. So here's my problem. No one has to help me out now because I look in the Beis Shmuel, and the Beis Shmuel says, "What are you talking about?" The Chumas Hadeshin is talking about can he stay without a woman because of Ketata, yes or no? And the Chumas Hadeshin said, for Ketata reasons, get married anyways and swallow it. You gotta swallow the pill. I don't know what he means, or something like that. Because also, so the Beis Shmuel, that's not been a guess selling a Sefer Torah. The Chumas Hadeshin is speaking about can he stay without a woman? That was the Shaila. Can he stay without a woman? No. You can't. Not a good excuse. Selling a Sefer Torah, maybe Adam could help me out. The Rav is saying a shtickle svar on this. Zogda linyan mechira Sefer Torah shiny. To sell a Sefer Torah and use the money for what? To stop yourself from an avera? Zogda nei. That you can't do. The tzarach lasa is bedomim mitzvah. V'loy hatzalas avera. I saw this lashon. I say I davened this morning. I said sumeira. I say toy. So what comes first? Sumeira. Let me say, I have to be honest. I'm quoting a lashon from the Beis Shmuel. He says he's chaylik on the chalkas mechayk. He says don't shlo mitzut shum misadeshen. So mitzut. And ret is wegen verkaufen. He's talking about a head of a person. Tota, I'm not getting married. That's what he's talking about. He said no, don't do it. Lo yofa. I don't know. I wouldn't say his lashon is lo yofa. Lo kamen yofa. That's nish yofa ois. I don't want to make it sound more than it's nish yofa. But it's Sefer Torah was and Kuman says that solas avera. I know, but it's also to say. But it's also lama b'leisha. Also chash. Also chash from HaRav. So that it's only chash you say. So that's not so important. I don't know. The Rebbe has a pshat. I'm not by mir nish as a claw. Was the shak levitaya between the chalkas mechaykik? He's saying it's more chomer this, and the Beis Shmuel says no. But selling a Sefer Torah, you got to transfer the money into a mitzvah. Why? You have to use the money for something that's very choshev. So I'm not sure what the svar of the Beis Shmuel is that hatzolas aver. You're saying because it's a suffix. Maybe you'll come to hear aver, but it's also an issa. The Shulchan Aruch says also they don't understand that it's not pashit to touch up such a machlekes where the dobim of a Sefer Torah that's mutter for lumay Torah, it's mutter for this, but is it mutter for hatzolas avera or not? In Ishkla. In Beis Shmuel, it's not mutter. In Chalkas Mechaykik, he says it's mutter. I'm not finished. I'm going to finish soon. I'm not going to keep down too long.
A mitzvah represents Kedushas Yisrael. It does. And a license is not. It's in the air with an issue and a summa, why a summa, it says in Rashi there that's pasnish, you shouldn't have any mitzvahs, but I has licenses like an isha, but it doesn't have Kedushas Yisrael. And that's what a mitzvah essay represents. Sefer Torah is Kedushas Yisrael. There's a good exchange there.
And that's what you need to sell a Sefer Torah. The guy has other mitzvahs. It's not his own mitzvah. He's saying that to transfer money of a Sefer Torah, we don't allow. We don't allow. The transfer of a Sefer Torah geld has to be transferred into Davar Shal Mitzvah. Okay, the Olam is happy with it. I'm like Bosi Rak Lo'ira as what?
Maybe
the Rav wants to say something about the Shal. What?
I'm listening.
No. I'm going to go to Chsam Sofer now and then. Yes. What are we saying about an Issa?
Before that, there's enough mean if you use the money right away. That the Gemara says that even if you use the money right away, so you see that.
It says even it's no pshius. So the Gemara says even the money is ready to go.
So inherently,
the Sefer Torah is ready. Yeah.
Right, so
that's the case of Sefer Torah.
But in this case over here, if the money is just used to prevent someone from doing an Issa, inherently it can't be used right away for Kiyum and Mitzvah. It's like the concept of Ve'idna. So Mela to get married right away to Bas Banim. So that mitzvah is shaykh right away.
Who said she'll have children? I mean, she Bas Banim.
Right. I'm saying if
when everything happens, it's automatic.
No,
she Bas Banim, it's just have Kinder. I mentioned Vartum for Kinder. I don't know. Maybe I'm just. You're saying a different svar b'chlal. You're saying there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee to anything. There's more guarantees of an Isha Stam to marry. That's guaranteed. If you're married or she's married, will she have children? That's good. I can't. No one can guarantee that. Besides, I want to say what? The Rif is the one that says that you can't sell Sefer Torah for Erev. There's 2 days in Shulchan Aruch. The Rif is the one that says. The Olam understands that. I brought this all down, but I started off with a Rambam today. I start off with the Rambam. The Rambam said you could sell Sefer Torah to use the money Lisa Isha. The Rambam didn't say one word about a Bas Banim. He said you're allowed to sell Sefer Torah to marry a woman. I don't know why the. Where is it? Ich weiß nicht. I was the Chalke. I think the Rambam. The Gemara sagt the say bro. Yeah, so it's a kasha. It's a kasha. It's a bro. It's a. Someone said that before, I'm not sure. It's a good kasha. Well, I tell you, bro, it's a good kasha. The Gemara said something that the Rambam seemed to ignore. Because all he said was to marry a woman. And the Gemara said, I tell you, bro, I'm going to say over Shiltis.
Is this a chiyuv? I have a question. Is this a chiyuv?
To do what? To do what? To do what? To do what?
Just tell us safe for try. I'm a safe for try. Marry a woman. I said, what do I have to do? Or is it just like
It's a mutter.
It'll come out of Chiddush in the Rambam.
Otherwise, you don't have money. A person doesn't have money.
It'll come out of Chiddush in the Rambam. Let's say the Rambam should have said, Lisi Isha, let's say he's married to another Isha. The Rambam is only going to be if he's not married to the Isha and Isha that he doesn't have.
Pashtus, I mean, to Hartnish came by. Pashtus, Hartnish came by. I had a little bit of the emphasis. I had a little bit of eitzah for the Rambam. The Rambam holds it is a mitzvah.
Read the words of the Rambam.
The emphasis, I didn't say this before, but I had a machshava for the Rambam. They all knows that the Rambam shitas, it's a mitzvah to get married. So the emphasis maybe the Rambam, the Lishitosa, that there's a mitzvah to get married. So it's not just a matter of Hatzolas Avera. They all knows I'm talking about the Rambam shita. Ish Mekadosh, that there's a mitzvah to get married. So there's a mitzvah to get married. So you don't have to be Shmuel's Taina. Maybe that's why the Rambam holds it. I just said something now quickly that the Rambam Lishitosa maybe, but I'm in Supik if that's the pshat. In the Ram, the Shitosai, that is Lisa Isha, because he holds there's always a mitzvah Lisa Isha, no matter what. Because Eretz like the Ram is a Bichas HaMitzvah, because it's a mitzvah Lisa Isha, Bekedusha. What I wanted to end off with is Ante Santa Maisa with the Chsam Seifa. Maybe it has a little bit. The Chsam Seifa in Yeridea. In Reishlan Dalet was abgehert a bissel to the Inyan. The Maisa was like this. The Maisa given that a Yid told the Chsam Seifa that he has a gewaltige Einfall. He had a Sefer Torah that he bought. He bought a Sefer Torah, went to the store, bought himself a Sefer Torah. But he decided he wants to do the mitzvah better. Instead of buying a Sefer Torah, not so simple. He wants to take the money from the Sefer Torah that he bought, sell it, and he wants to use the money to hire a Sefer to write a Sefer Torah. So that is the ideal way of being Mekayim mitzvahs Ksiva Sefer Torah. Right? You have a Sefer hired by you. You buy it, a kind of Sefer Torah, Kechoit of Mitzvah and Ashuk, there's Lashonis that are brought down. This year, the Gemara Geisa, Weiss the Geisa, that's a gehalten for Alhamdin. And he tells the Zolty zum Chsam Seifa, is a Reishlan Dal, Dr. Chsam Seifa, ich habe eine gewaltige Eitzah, that I could sell my Sefer Torah that I bought in order to use the money to hire a Sefer, because Malen B'Kodesh, when the Mensch hat verstanden, Malen B'Kodesh, because it's a better mitzvah. It's a better mitzvah. What? No, you have to know. I know he didn't. I handled this yourself from shoes. I handled das nicht. But this year, I think the Elam should ask me a better kasha. I mean, a good kasha. It's a good kasha. The Elam should ask me a better. The Yid sagt, sagt as in the Iteration Dalia, he said that, it's a Malen B'Kodesh. No, is that Malam because let's think and say the Elam learned the Sugi now of Chava. What?
The Gavra, it's not on the Chavta.
Oh, so the Chsam Seifa said, Reb Yid, I don't understand you. What are you going to do with the whole Sugi? The Sugi is zok that there's no Iluya by Sefer Torah and it's Shayakin Iluya. It's the highest kedusha. So according to you, there's Iluya because you could sell a Sefer Torah to write a Sefer Torah. So Chsam Seifa macht von him. I think that's what the Elam is asking. And Zok, that's not an Iluya. Iluya means in the Chayfetz that you are exchanging and you're buying the new Chayfetz, the Chayfetz has to have an Iluya. You can't have an Iluya of a Sefer Torah. There's no Iluya. Oh, ich will haben a bessere Mitzvah. Ich will haben a bessere Mitzvah von Siva Sefer Torah. So what? That's like using the money of a Sefer Torah for a mitzvah. It's like using money of a person wants to buy an esrog, very expensive. He wants to sell a Sefer Torah to buy an esrog. Can you sell a Sefer Torah to buy an esrog? That's what the Chsam Seifa compares it to. He says, "What are you doing over here? It's not you're not being malad the kedusha from the Sefer Torah. It's the same Sefer Torah. You write the Sefer Torah. You want to have a better mitzvah. That's a mitzvah ba'alma. If them and ishto kein din von, that's not called iluya. That's like selling a sefer Torah for a mitzvah, for your personal mitzvah. Ksiva sefer Torah.
You're going to allow them both.
You're going to allow them.
What's the issa from Varkoifen on sefer Torah?
It's mizalzel seine sefer Torah.
So, oib me verkauft das haben, a besser sefer Torah, das ist nicht kein Zilzel.
But that's the Gemara already. But the Gemara, Yoshem v'chodesh. But then Yoshem v'chodesh is Eichad Esher. Yoshem v'chodesh. Malam b'kodesh, but not over here. You need a kedusha b'zach to be malam. You have to go from a higher level to a higher level.
But here,
but that's another than malam b'kodesh. Also, you put your tefillin on after towel. It's also malam b'kodesh. The mensch is malam b'kodesh. That's the whole malam b'kodesh. The elam is not zilzul. You sagt das nicht doch kein zilzul. Efshe. Sagt das der Mensch gegen Allah. Das der Rav will sagen. Some say it's like a mitzvah balma.
it's a Zilzul, the Hefzer from this.
Yeah, the hefzer. You're going from one sefer Torah to another sefer Torah. You're not being mala in the kedusha sefer Torah. Azaz sefer Torah, azaz sefer Torah. The mensch, the gavra. That's what he calls it. The gavra is mekayim zayin mitzvah besa if he hires a sefer to write the sefer Torah. Okay, that's what some sefer zocht if they're yid as zocht as at dingtzachem. It's okay. Some sefer dingtzachem. It's fine. But there's some sefer zocht and says, you know what? I have a shiltis. Ich habe a shiltis. But the shiltis is also not going to help you so much. Ich habe a shiltis, he says, and the shiltis is mechudish because it's shaloi kedas kol ha-poskim, the shiltis. Now, who brings the shiltis? So here's an interesting thing. I didn't bring, I'm sorry to trouble that. In one Avodah Zarah, in Daf Yud Gimel, Avodah Zarah, is a Dorten state van Lul Materli Seisha, and Taisvus says in Avodah Zarah Yud Gimel, Avodah Zarah, Taisvus there, and Taisvus says in Lul Materli Seisha, is that only those two mitzvahs you could tell Sefer Torah. Then Taisvus says, Shiltis Pashis Emma, Shiltis Zogt, and sell a Sefer Torah to do a mitzvah. Vada, you could sell a Sefer Torah for a mitzvah. You want to buy an esrig? Vada, you could sell a Sefer Torah. So he bringt das Shiltis a kal v'choyme von the Gemara von Dilma Terlisish. So you look, that's a Shiltis, but very nice. But it's like a das hapoiskim. I should know that. But what did the Shiltis say? So some sefer said half of it is some sefer gesagt a hezbe in the Shiltis. Not that he's saying lahalocha as to do like the Shiltis, but there's some sefer in Reish Dal says, you know what the Shiltis means? The Gemara is mater luma terli seisha. Even I want to learn. Ich will learn in brisk. That's not dafka. But I want to go to brisk, and it costs more money to go to brisk. I do Eretz Yisrael. Moses left learning door the mir, right? Right. Tervedas. I'm sorry. Tervedas. So some sefer learned that you learn to sell sefer Torah. And filo for the sake, ich will learn by Yener Rebbe. Yener Rebbe is efshe, ich will learn besser. Or Lisa Isha, some say learned the shillit, will have mechastem at azafroi. And she's more expensive. So Dr. Sam Sefer, the shillit is not like this. I think Gemara is saying for these two things, even if it's for the sake of doing the mitzvah better, a little mater, ich will learn him besser. Learn him by Yener Rebbe, it'll be better. Lisa Isha, you know, I feel this marriage maybe is better. This is mehr against. But the shiltis learned that's pshat in the Gemara. And if the heta is to do these two mitzvahs better, how the shiltis that if there's another mitzvah that you won't be able to do at all, and Hashem can ask for yontif, it will be mevatel a mitzvah. So the shiltis learned. It's a kal v'choyme, you could do that. That's the shittas. That's the some seifers understanding of the shiltis. That here we're mad to you to do things better. Better. You're not going to be mevatel the mitzvah. At learn it. Learn sabes hareben. Okay. If you could do that, the shiltis held that kal v'choyme, that if you're going to be a bottle from a mitzvah totally, so that you could zichadu. So some Sefer said, "Das pshat ne sheiltis." But he said, "This yid, even the sheiltis doesn't help you, because you have a Sefer Torah. You want to do a Sefer Torah, a mitzvah chsiva Sefer Torah better. So for you, even the sheiltis at the helfen achzachte. But the sheiltis, anyways, is not lahalacha. He says it would be good for a mitzvah that's going to be bottled on the mechiras Sefer Torah. But for there, it is not maila for mitzvah namuvcha, and that even the shiltis is maila. You can't sell Sefer Torah. The ma'aseh like this. I just wanted to end off. The one marker sagt, mit der Sefer gehört wegen der Sefer Torah, aber der Rav wird meichel sein, als ich will sagen, als Sache Covid, der Mord der Asra, und the Mord says in Marcus that there's the pasuk is Aborim Yakenu, and Chazal said Aborim Yakenu is a round number. It doesn't mean Aborim means 39, and the Mord says Kamatip Shoy Hani Inshi. We just spoke a shir to Redenberg Kedusha Sefer Torah and the COVID Godel from Sefer Torah, and the Gemara sagt Kamatip Shoy Hani Inshi. Was they stehen for Sefer Torah and they don't stand for HaRav. Take a look what a HaRav does. He takes away Malchus from you. I'm saying a little Jewish on the Gemara. And them took Tabek Malchus, Chazal, Talmidei Chachamim, them Tabek Malchus, they do all the good things for you. And the Kovid Talmid Chacham state in the Gemara is more so. Kovid HaTorah is odif. Even the Kovid HaTorah, Talmid Chacham is odif, even than the Kovid of a Sefer Torah. Agudah.
The Chaim Pasuk is actually that the Sefer Torah falls.
Next week.
So I brought that from Chaim. That if a Sefer Torah falls or Talmud
Sorry, I went a
falls.
little bit over time.
No, it's okay.
On that note.
We'll come see you.